this PowerPoint.
That's awesome.
Awful. I have no idea why I agreed to do that.
Probably like speaking a whole different language. Was it like speaking a different language? Try to talk to him about it and explain it?
I just talked, I think. Probably.
Because the generational differences are probably
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I just really talked. I think
'Cause-
they,
Like growing up with stuff like that, you assume too much.
yeah.
And so people that aren't familiar with it, you're skipping over stuff you don't even know you're
I
skipping
don't
over.
remember too much.
Yeah.
I just kind of talked.
Like
And
sometimes
like
you
if they
forget.
ask questions, we walk through it.
Explain what a mouse is.
Oh, they do that stuff. They do that at least.
So it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't bad at all. I'm not sure when we want to start. We can start whenever.
I am just refreshing the stream to
Okay.
see when they actually.
Sweet. I guess I could do that also. Alright, we're live, gentlemen.
Woohoo!
Thanks, Patrick. Welcome to Judge Classes, everyone. That is online, that has joined us. My name's Tony. I'm a level 1 judge here in Salt Lake City. We have Jeremiah here.
Woo!
Yeah, he's our level 2 judge. He's the cool guy.
Highly
If I get something
debatable.
wrong, he'll correct me because we don't have Kai this week.
Highly
He's really good at
debatable.
that. I like that. I miss her already. I just want to do a special thanks before we get started to Paragon City Games for streaming this. They're awesome. They spend so much time just like getting this set up and like getting ready, and they're just so accommodating. Appreciate them.
Correcting all the mistakes we make in here ruining
Yeah.
their equipment.
Yeah, seriously, ruining all their equipment and like Brian letting us use his like personal computer and stuff. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Check out their website or their Facebook page, Paragon City Games. Should be able to find it pretty easily. All right. Anyway, let's Jeremiah, let's go to the next slide. If you guys didn't notice, there was Judge Dredd in the back there. That was pretty awesome. So today we're talking about interactions of continuous effects, also known as layers. Most people know it as. Shrek's one of my favorite movies of all time. I had that reference. Layers. Why? Because onions have layers, of course. Anyway, this is lesson 5. Hey, can I get the next slide, please? So, layers are how we decide the order in which we apply many different continuous effects. That's a complicated and wordy way of saying when something happens that's doing the same thing, how do we order them, basically? So we have a bunch of effects that happen all to like end a turn or always on the board, and we kind of need to know how they order on top of each other. It's kind of different. So next part. So we have changed up stuff of these. Only reason why I put this card up there is because it's complicated when it comes to layers. And anytime I mention layers, my dear friend Jeremiah always references it. When we have two copies of Chains of Mephistopheles. We're not going to go over that. Anyway.
And a cameo emblem, and you go to discard an cool.
What happens? That is over my head. I'll let Jeremiah explain that. Ready, Jeremiah?
Lots of things.
That's how I like to hear it. Anyway, next slide. All right. So how do we describe like this particular card? How would you? We talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago. How would you describe this? I think it was last week when we were talking about copy effects. So, and I'll give you a refresher. We have it's a green creature, right? And it has power and toughness of 2/2.
CMC, 1 colorless, 1 green.
So 2, yep.
One
And
and a
it's-
generic.
Yeah.
Colorless is specific.
Yeah, it is very
That
specific.
is true. I was
And then we
thinking that.
have this part. It's pretty important.
I
It's
don't
a-
know.
it's
Maybe
a-
if it was like a goblin warrior, it might be important.
That's true.
Being an
Anyway,
elf
it's an elf warrior and it's a creature. That's all I was trying to get at. So that's how we describe this. Push the next button for me, Wayne. So it's a creature card. We know that, right? Subtype is an elf warrior. It's green. Power and toughness is 2/2. And then it also has an ETB effect. So we need to remember that we have to describe that. So next part. So what if we cast Turn the Frog on it? What would happen? Anybody?
It would become a blue frog.
Yeah.
Become a blue frog.
The 1/1
Become a 1/1.
blue
Would
frog.
would it still be an elf? Elf
Lose.
warrior? have an ETB effect?
It wouldn't matter because it already ended the battlefield.
But it wouldn't have the
That would be done.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so it loses all those. It's a 1/1. It's a blue frog. So yeah, and it doesn't. And then so let's do.
What's its
Does-
mana
does it
cost?
still-
Yeah, what's its mana cost?
It's same.
Same.
Does it lose its subtype?
Subtype? Yes, because it says it's a blue. It becomes a blue frog.
Okay.
And now it's time. Now it's time. So hit the little button for me. So what if we had local metal coating
In
onto
addition,
that warrior?
then it's in addition.
Okay, keep going. And we also did become events on it. We're doing this all at the same time.
Nice.
Okay.
We got a lot of
And
mana.
next one.
We got a lot of mana.
And what if we twisted its image? Did twisted image. And then next one. And then we decided to nameless invert it, as they say. I stole that from GatherMagic.com.
We'd have to call it judge.
And then we also keep going. One more. Then we decided to clone it. Right? This. And then last one.
This has to be EDH, right?
Diagnose it with agoraphobia, right? We decided to make it. And then the last one decided to watch the elves' sweet aerial maneuvers, as they said on GatherMagic.com. Anyway, so the whole point of that was, like, what if that happens? Like, that doesn't normally happen, like, in every game. But sometimes you do have, like, multiple things happening at the same time. Go ahead and hit the next one. So, did it take you how? Now, how do we describe this card? Click this again. So, I already talked about this. What order do we apply these effects? You obviously don't know about that. What about the clone? So that was one part of it too. Like that's a whole part of it. And keep going. So, because of this, we have to talk about the different layers because we have all these things going on that are kind of affecting the card, and that's why I reference onions. So this is an example of the interaction of continuous effects that we deal with. Keep going. And then it has, so anyway, keep going, next one. So we have 7 layers that help order those effects that we just talked about. Obviously you guys don't know anything about that, so we're gonna go over those like briefly. So here are the 7 layers, woo! And then there's a couple sub layers. We're gonna go over these in detail. You don't have to have these memorized right now. Obviously I don't expect you to know that.
But before you take your judge test, you will want to have these memorized.
Mostly the sub layers, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first one is the copying layer. So to kind of explain how layers work, it's kind of like you start at the top and you apply the first one first, and then you go down to layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, all the way down to 7. So it kind of goes from top down, right?
Yes, and you always go down.
Yep.
You never go
Go up.
back up.
Exactly. Always apply those. So first layer is copy effects. So anything that has to do with copy effects, deals with copy related effects, we apply that first. And then examples of those is like clone and reverberate. You guys know what reverberate is. Like copies a spell. And then isochron separa is a copy effect because you make a copy of the spell. And then Vasuva is a land version of that. You make a copy of the land. So that's where that happens in the layers, is in the first one. Next one, layer 2 is like control effects. Obviously, the big bad Emrakul did that. He took control of a turn. It deals with anything like that you take control, like Wrangle from the new set. You know that one? Gain control, or Act of Treason is another one. Commandeer is an example where you take control of a spell while it's on the stack. Text altering. So that is kind of a weird case. The most common one I've seen is Overload. So like Cyclonic Rift. So if you read Overload, it says when you cast this, if you pay the Overload cost, if you do change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. So it actually changes the text on the spell itself. That's why I kept the ETB on the elf. It's because it would change if there was something that affected that text, it could get changed.
Usually this is dealing with effects that change color on text.
Yeah, typically.
So counter target blue spell, replace
That's
it.
where it would matter more, right?
Yep. So there's that. So counterflux is the most common one, I think. Maybe cyclonic rift are probably the two most common ones. Mind bend is one, and this is actually talking about what he was kind of saying. Keep in mind, this does not mean the same thing as adding or removing things from the card. So when a card or color is changed, they are dealt with. Those are dealt with in separate layers. So when a card is like changed to blue, or if it's like the card is changed. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about there. Apologize. But the color is a different layer, like a different part of it. So let's go to the next one. I believe we talked about it right now. So we're talking about type changing effects. So can I get this really quick? So it deals with the main types of the card. So like legendary is a type. Artifact, creature, those are types. We also have super types like legendary and world enchantments. You guys remember those? There's a couple of those. And then like subtypes, which was like Goblin Ralph, like we were talking about before. So that's when we change those. So that's when layer 4 happens. Next one. Oh, I forgot Leyline of the Singularity. Do you guys know that card?
What color was it?
Blue. Just makes everything
Oh,
legendary. Yeah, makes everything legendary. It's kind of funny. All right, so this is the color changing effects that we were talking about earlier. So that happens in layer 5. So after those other abilities that we were talking about earlier. So deals with anything that changes color. Most common one I know of is Painter Servant. Can you guys think of one that changes the color of a spell?
Pain and 7 is like the one I think of.
Story's Lens, there's one that changes the story lens. Yeah, there's one. Kind of going fast. Sorry, guys. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. All right. Layer 6, adding or removing text. So the most common one that happens, in my opinion, is the archetypes. You guys remember the archetypes in Theros? Like Architect, the flying one that takes away flying and gives all your creatures flying. So that's actually what that does. I use the archetype of aggression just because it's aggression. Aggression's awesome.
And this is where you also add abilities.
Yes.
So anything that says you get an
So go ahead and click that one more time. So like Rush of Fatality, like it's a spell, right? It says it gives a +1/+0 lifelink and indestructible, I think it is. So when it's like an instant, so like when you give something trample, or you give something indestructible, that's where this is where it applies. So this layer. Is that right?
yeah.
Okay, cool. I think there's one more example.
Nope.
Okay, cool. All right. So we get to layer 7. This is the power and toughness layer. So anytime the power and toughness is changed, this is where it's affected. And there's a bunch of subtypes. So there's 5 subtypes. This is the part that's the most important because it's a part that happens the most often. That's the part we use the most. And most level 1 questions have to do with layers are going to have to do with this layer. So the very first one, sub A, which is kind of a boring way of saying the characteristics defining abilities. So he already gave it. Tarmogoyf is an example of characteristic defining abilities. So as the star is a good way of thinking about it a lot of times. What that means is basically the power and toughness is determined by something that's on the battlefield or not on the battlefield, something by the game. So specifically, Tarmogoyf looks at the graveyard and sees the different types. Go ahead.
Some other things that will affect characteristic defining abilities. There's like Changeling is a characteristic defining ability, and Devoid. These abilities are true no matter where in the game
Where they
it
are.
is. Whether it's in your deck, in your hand, in your graveyard, in your draft pool.
Yep,
These will
exactly.
always be there. And
Yep,
Devoid,
yep.
yep.
That's correct. So like you said, it was like Changeling has that characteristic defining ability. It's all types. Devoid, which is a newer one, it's colorless no matter where it's at. Like whether it's in the graveyard or in your hand or exile, just kind of make sure that they can hear you. And then a couple other examples. Nightmare is determined by swamps. You guys don't know the power touches. And then the new one, Enigma Drake. which was instant sorcery area, right? And that only deals with a part of it. It only affects its power, which is different than the other ones. It's kind of cool. So that can happen. Next one. All right, so we get back to the turn the frog example that we talked about earlier. I asked you. I was wondering if you guys knew anything about it. That's why I asked it. So power and toughness is being set in turn the frog, right? That's what this one is. So any effect that changes its power and toughness, either like up or down, and it just like tells you what the power and toughness is basically. Give me another example. Diminish. Do you know what that one is? You know what that one is? I think all things are 1/1s. I think is what it says. All creatures are 1/1s.
That's God Hedabar.
Oh yeah. All other creatures are 1/1s. Yeah, that's a creature that says I don't know what diminish does. I apologize. Bad example.
Diminishes target creature becomes a 1/1.
1/1. So it's an instant. Yeah, that's why that makes sense. This is a creature that's an instant that does it. So you can see that both spells and creatures can affect that. So one is until end of turn, and one is like a continuous effect throughout multiple turns. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
so
it can happen.
an aura that's on it, like dead weight or something,
That will do it.
would work too.
So that's a good example. Go to the next slide. Dead weight.
Deadweight is a little different. We'll talk about that.
Because it's not saying it
just
just
That's actually why I said the next layer.
Oh.
So the big difference
This
is
modifies and not changes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The other one sets it to be a
Right.
1/1,
Gotcha.
and this one gives it adds or subtracts
Alters
it. Yeah, adds or subtracts it. So this, for instance, just remember -5, -5. Dead weight gives it -2, -2. Pinned to the earth does the power. That's an aura that gives it -5, -0, I think it is. And then giant growth, which is like really common, +3, +3. Everyone loves that. So just remember that these are add, subtract, power, and toughness in this layer. But don't get that confused with the next sublayer, which is changes from counters. So like +1/+1 counters or -1, -1 counters. So a good example of that is wall roots, which is a 0/1, a -0, -1 counter, or a 0, -1 counter. So it's very similar to the last one, but remember we're just dealing with counters, not like spells that do it. So we see these all the time, like Splendid Agony was in this last set, just distribute 2 counters, and then Winding Constrictor deals with counters. Next one. And the weird one that when I brought up this one, you guys didn't seem like you were familiar with it. Have you guys used Twisted Image at all? So Twisted Image does flipping or switching the power and toughness. There's not very many cards out there that do that, but that one is used a lot in Modern, believe it or not, it's Twisted Image. So anything that does that is just basically says you switch or flip the power and toughness. It's dealt with last in the sublayer. Can you hit the button for me, Jeremiah? And then example? None. Sweet. Alright, so we're going to go over a scenario really quick about layers. I know I went over those really fast. Do you guys think you ready for an example? Okay. So we have Liliana's Mastery. We are giving the creature a +1/+1. And I have a zombie. And I have that enchantment out. Do you guys remember what layer that was dealt with? Was it 7? See?
That's what I'm gonna say.
Ooh, good memory, guys. Good memory.
That's because it was 2 slides ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Slide 2, we're in trouble.
All right, so next one. Ringle,
See, there we go.
act of treason. So gain control.
Slide 2, right?
That's 2.
2? Yeah. Good job, guys. Good job.
Good
So-
layer
So let's so we have this beetle. That's a 1/4.
2. He exists.
1/4 is great. I love that. So what if we go ahead and hit the next slide? Have that beetle, and we decide to twist it image it. What happens?
It becomes a 4/1 until end of turn.
A 4/1? Yeah, that's right. So
And then you draw
here we
it
got
out.
this. And what layer uses the
70.
7D? I don't remember exactly.
I can't remember if it's D or E.
70E.
7E? Yep. I have kind of AOC.
The last thing we want to do is we want to switch the power and toughness.
Okay.
Otherwise, things get real messy.
Yeah, I get crazy. Okay, so we still have the one that's it's a 4-1 we said, right? Because it's 7-8.
Yeah.
So what if I used Aether Meltdown on that after we used that? What would happen? So what would its power and toughness would be? So kind of as a hint, remember the order we apply this on layers.
This one would apply first because it's 7D,
So
and then it would be switched.
each time a spell is cast, the layers get read out.
So they're all like these. The effects are happening until end of turn or a
Right.
continuous effect.
They're always checking,
Always check.
and they're always checking in that order.
So
Yep.
So combat
So-
trick instant.
So I
ability
cast
roll.
the spell before. What was it called again?
Twisted
Sorry.
image.
Twisted Image.
Yeah.
It checked, changed its power and toughness. I cast Aether.
In a different phase of the turn.
It's still 4-1, right?
Mhm.
It still has that effect going on from Twisted Image. It's
Right.
still going to do it till end of turn. And then I cast this. It's going to check again. It's going to apply that
Go through this.
4-1 or whatever one happens first. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Gotcha.
And then it'll try to apply this one in order on that one also. So he was right. It'll apply this one first, right?
Mhm. So
And then Twisted Image.
So it would be a 0-1, and then it would become a 1-0.
Click it.
yeah, it'd be negative.
Oh yeah, it's a 1
Well,
as well.
So the first one will happen. So if we apply this one first, it's going to be a -3/4, and then if we would add this layer, it'd become a 4 -3. So then it would die. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
did my
kinda,
math wrong.
yeah. It's confusing.
Too late.
All right. What time is it? Did I go really fast?
It's 7.
7 p.m. What time did we start?
6:36.
6:36. Okay, so it wasn't too bad. I don't want to be any longer than that. All right, so this last question's for you. It's a common one. See if we can figure this one out. It's pretty common. Blood Moon and Orborg. You guys have the tools, kind of, to figure this out.
So let's go through the layers.
Yep.
What's the first layer?
First layer.
Floating.
Okay, so are any of these effects, will they apply in the copy layer?
Okay, cool. So we don't have to worry about that one. Second layer.
Changing control.
Changing control. Does this change control?
No.
Third layer.
Changing subtypes. Well, changing. What's
You're doing
going
it
on?
really well, by the way.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. That's
It's changing the type, whether it's subtype or overall type.
yeah, you got it. That's right.
It's text,
Text.
on that layer.
Oh, it is
Yep.
text. Right? That's right. I missed that.
I
one.
was trying to think of the wording. I was like, I can't
Yep.
remember.
Then what's in the fourth layer?
Isn't it setting?
This is what you were saying earlier.
Types.
Yeah, setting types.
Okay, so is anything applying in the type layer?
Yes.
Okay, what's applying in the type layer?
So all non-basic lands and mountains, which is changing what they are, right?
Yep.
And then this is adding swamp. So
In
does
addition.
it changes first and then adds? Is it guess?
So this creates what is known as a dependency.
Which I
Urborg
talked about.
Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth has a dependency on the Blood Moon's effect. So because the Blood Moon is making it a non-basic, because it's a non-basic land, Blood Moon is making it a mountain,
So
and
then
it just loses
they
everything.
can't do anything.
So it becomes a
No.
Yawgmoth, whatever it's called. What is the name of the?
Urborg Tomb of
Urborg.
Yawgmoth.
Yeah, I said it backwards. Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth Mountain, basically. That's basically what it is. It has the same name, but it is now a mountain because of the dependency of Blood Moon, right?
Yep.
Yep, correct. So that was really confusing. So can you expand on dependencies?
Don't worry about them until you're level 2.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Perfect. Sweet.
Essentially, when you're checking things in the layer, it will check dependencies, see if any of the effects depend on another effect, and then it will check in timestamp order. So I don't know if we have any timestamp effects that would do. Yes. So if I play Spreading Seas on Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, says Enchanted Land is an island, and you draw a card when it enters. And then you play Blood Moon, because we're checking the dependencies. The Urborg lost its ability, so it's island now. And then you play Blood Moon, and timestamp order says it's a mountain.
So timestamps typically only have to happen when you're trying to apply the same effect in the same layer. So, for instance, which you don't really need to worry about timestamps too much, because 90% of the time timestamps don't apply. So get that out of your head. I have that trouble all the time. I always want to try to apply timestamps. It doesn't happen. So the only time it happens is, say, like I give a creature +3/+3, and then I want to give it -3/-3. I mean, then they're affecting the same layer, the same sublayer in this case, and so then we would apply it in timestamp order. Correct?
Essentially.
Essentially, that's a real simple. version of
Timestamp order is what
when it happened.
plays first, hits first.
Yes.
Correct.
So with the Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, if we play Blood Moon first, what is it?
It's a mountain.
Yeah.
Yep. Then we'll play Spreading Seas on Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, and what is it?
An island.
Mountain. And then it changed it to an island from a mountain.
Yeah, so
Correct.
it's an island.
Gotcha.
Yep. It would then be an island because of timestamps. All right. Layers are super complicated, but I try to make them as easy as possible this time. Kind of let you guys know them. Do you guys want to go back over it, or do you guys think you guys are good for today?
For fun, let's do that real long example at the beginning.
Yeah.
A real long one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that.
What if? What if?
All right, let's do
Yeah,
that.
follow the.
You can just hit. Okay, fine.
But I need to
We'll
like
wait
write
for
all these
Patrick.
guys down.
You got to do something to keep up.
Oh.
No,
No,
because we want to
it's-
go to the first thing.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so we have Translate.
Yeah.
Cool. I love this card. It's an elf. I play a lot of elves. And then we play Turn to Frog. So it's a 0/1 frog, right?
It's a 1/1.
So
1/1 frog.
going in layer order, just because this will help you
I'll let you
guys
take the
get
direction.
it. What's layer 1?
Copying.
Yep, and is anything here applying in it?
No.
Okay, layer 2.
Changing control.
Is anything applying in it?
No.
Layer 3.
Changing text.
Okay, is anything applying there?
Yes.
What?
Loses all abilities.
Yep.
Good job.
Layer 4. What's that?
Changing type.
Okay, is anything applying there?
Yes.
What?
It's becoming a blue frog instead of an elf.
A blue frog?
Instead of a green elf.
Sorry, frog.
Yeah,
Good job.
we're just applying frog in this
Yeah.
layer. Layer 5.
Isn't that color change?
Yep.
And that's when it becomes a blue.
Layer 6.
Changing power toughness. the
I guess I
base
was wrong earlier. It's not changing the text there, because
color.
the abilities, because this is where it changes the
Yeah,
abilities.
it's adding or removing abilities.
So, oh yeah, changing text is if it changes just for that, like overload or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So it
So
changes
this
one
is-
word from target to all or something.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Cool.
So layer 6 is where we remove the
Word.
abilities, right?
Yes.
Right?
okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Layer 7A.
Changing.
Well,
Has to do with power.
what is layer 7 in general?
Layer
It's
7
power
is power and
toughness.
toughness.
Right. So what's the first thing there?
This was the part I went fast on, huh?
This was the
Isn't that the base?
Tarmogoyf thing.
Oh, the
Things outside the card that are affecting it.
Yeah, and those
So
are
game
called
effects.
the characteristic defining abilities.
CDA for sure.
Yep. Okay, so layer 7B. What do we do there?
I'll give you a hint. We use this one.
Like in this example.
In this example, we
is
use
this
it.
Oh.
the base?
Yeah, change
Yeah.
the base.
Yep, this
So
is where we
base.
set the base.
Where you set it to 1-1. Yep.
Layer 7C, what do we do there?
We don't use this one. Counters.
Counters is
yeah.
C?
Yes.
I thought that was later. I thought,
That's D, and that's putting counters on it. Yep.
No, C is where we're at right now.
Oh,
Let's see.
we are. I got it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
C is the giant growth effect.
Yes.
Um,
Modifying it.
or
minus
the dead weight or whatever.
Yep.
the plus and minus.
Then D was counters,
Counters,
and then what was E?
Switch it when you switch it with like twisted image or something.
Mhm.
Okay, so liquid metal coating.
Maybe that becomes an artifact and distributes opens. It's like a 3.
Close.
4.
Oh,
Because 4
4.
is your
Four is
Yep.
type changing. Yep.
So
text.
now it's an artifact frog who's blue, has no abilities, and is a 1/1.
Yep.
Okay. Then we become immense. And what layer does this apply in?
7C.
7C. Yep.
And
Oh,
oh no, it doesn't. Never mind.
I
I
was
thought
like,
I gave it trample for some reason.
Oh.
That's not. That's something else.
Okay. So
70.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of
very
valid
last
roll.
thing we do. So we're still looking at 7/7.
Blue frog. Blue artifact. Blue frog artifact.
Yep. And no abilities.
No abilities.
You also drew a card that time too, right?
Yes.
Sweet.
Okay. This is where it gets a little tricky. So what are we looking at?
Okay.
copy.
It was.
No, you're just targeting.
Oh,
Sure.
no. Yeah.
Alright,
Okay.
So first thing it does is this changeling. So this card is
That's just card type.
yeah. So that's just for the card, right?
Right.
And then it says target creature gets +3, -3. So which
7C.
7C
C? Yep.
and loses all creature types.
Until end of turn. So do you guys?
Layer 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
So what's our elf look like now?
Let me think.
Let's go through the effects again. What's the first layer?
Copy.
Okay. The next layer?
Control. Take control. Change
Yep.
control.
Still nothing there. Third layer?
Change text.
Yep. Nothing there. Fourth layer?
Change type
So it changed from an elf to a what?
to a frog.
And a frog to a what?
Frog artifact.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
That's right.
I had
then
to think about that. I was like, wait, what's
Yeah.
your next?
That's good.
and
hard to
then
remember.
frog artifact to what?
Nothing.
It's in 0 times.
So it's just an artifact creature.
Yep.
Layer 5.
Yeah. Nothing. Color changing. Yeah.
Color change.
It did change
Oh, blue.
It
Yeah.
changed to blue.
from
It's a
green to blue.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yep. Layer
blue artifact did this
6.
Um,
It's hard hard to remember all these.
Right.
Adding and removing abilities.
Yep. And it did lose ability from
Frog.
yeah, turn
Yep.
frog.
Yep.
Okay, layer 7A.
CDAs.
Yeah, none of them.
No CDAs.
Okay. 7B.
Change to a specific
Change to change to a 1/1
No
And what
layer.
else?
in that same layer.
Did anything else
I
happen in
think
that
that's it
layer?
on that
I
layer.
think that's it.
You're right.
Layer 7C.
And then 7C got the +6/6, right?
Yep.
And this +3, -3.
So what's its power and toughness right now?
So it went from 1/1 to a 7/7. So it's going to be a 10/4.
10/4.
10-4, good buddy. And 7D.
There are no counters.
Okay, and 7E.
We switched it.
So
The blue draw a card and switch power.
Oh yeah, we
numbers.
did switch with Twisted Image, so it's a 4/10 at this point.
okay, so it's an artifact creature with no
Blue.
creature type. Blue
Artifact
Blue artifact
creature.
has no abilities and is a 4/10.
4/10.
Okay,
Sweet.
we'll skip over that for now. Okay,
Back to it.
now we're going to diagnose it with agoraphobia.
Well,
Okay.
clone would just make it another Dwayne Sleeve, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It would, because it's the first thing you do.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Good job.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so we diagnose it with agoraphobia.
Great. So this is 7C.
Okay, so
First thing was the become immense, so it became a 7/7.
Yep.
And then can't remember what the card was, but it was +3 -3.
nameless inversion. Yep.
Became a 10/4. And then with this, it becomes a 5/4.
Yeah.
And then you switch it, and it becomes a 4/5.
Yep. Okay. And finally,
Gains flying, first strike.
which applies in which layer?
So now we have 5/4.
So we have copy control, text type.
And then isn't 5 the abilities?
5 is color.
So six,
Um,
don't forget about color.
Yep.
6 is adding group abilities.
Yep.
Okay.
So
So
6.
flying in first strike is 6.
Yep.
And we're into
+1/+1 again.
7.
We use that
So
last
it would
to
end
get
up being a 5/6
Yep.
With
flying.
after all
first
the
strike.
belonging.
Okay. So final fun question.
How would you describe
That card?
it? So it's
After
color?
we've messed it up
It's
here.
after we did all that?
regulation.
Artifact creature with flying, first strike, power toughness 5/6. If
Yep.
I did all the math
That's
right.
it.
That's right.
I think that's
Yep.
Sweet.
And so even though we applied or we cast the twisted image first, it's still always applied last because
Okay.
every time we do something, we go through
Unless
all
there's
the layers.
another twisted image or something that does the same thing, then the timestamp would affect that on that layer.
You still would apply all the other stuff before. And
Right.
Then,
So you twisted image and you had something else that flipped it back, then
yeah,
the timestamp would affect that, right?
Yep. But essentially, you'd flop it once and flop it right back before anything happened.
Mhm.
Okay. Are there any questions from the chat?
Thank you, Jeremiah.
You're welcome.
Thank you for leading this. I don't think there's any questions from chat. Do you have it up by chance?
I do. So far, there aren't any, but. We'll give them a minute to respond.
Sweet. In the meantime, I will look at what next lessons is.
And if you are ever judging something and you're unsure because letters are a confusing question, feel free to just grab the back of the match slip or your little judge notebook and write it out and go through this.
It's a good idea.
Yep.
That's a really good idea.
Because you can do that, and that will help because this is confusing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, just write out the layers, try to apply them in those order. It's a good way to do it.
Mhm.
So, any questions?
None so far,
Sweet.
but
Alright.
tell them what we're doing next week.
Next week we're casting spells and activating activated abilities.
We're casting spells. Kai's teaching. We are casting spells. We love you, Kai. We are casting spells.
Yep, Kai, we're only casting spells. Yeah, we don't want to go into activating abilities. That's 2 lessons. This may take a little longer. All right, I am done. If you guys don't have any effects, thanks for coming today. Don't forget to check out Paragon City Games, their Facebook page. If you're in Utah, UtahMagicEvents.com. Go check out our calendar for Utah events.
Come check out the Paragon City Games store.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome place.
Mhm.
And if you haven't already, feel free to reach out and join. I know we're going to go through this again. Our Utah MTG Judge Study Group,
Yes.
or whatever we're calling it.
Utah MTG judge class.
Yeah,
Judge
Utah
classes.
MTG Judge Classes
On
on Facebook. If you join that group and you post a question on there, I'm in there quite every day. I check it at least once a day. I will reply. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. So
Yep.
that's it, and we can talk about it. If I see one, I'll definitely mention it on stream. That's for sure. So we can go over it on stream if we want to, and kind of go from there. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Thanks you two for participating. Have a good day.